Hey guys, it's Mike here from GenerationWho.com, and I wanted to show you something really cool, so check this out. This is what we like to call our frugal flat screen, that's what we call it here, and I drew a simple graph for you. So this line down here going left and right represents age. This is 20 years old, 45 years old, and 75 years old. The line over here going up and down represents income. So this is the bottom 20% of income earners. And this line up here represents those evil top 1% of income earners that Bernie Sanders likes to talk about a lot, right? Now we know a few things about income over time. Number one is that many young people in this nation represent the bottom 20% of income earners, or around there. And this makes sense, right? We haven't had a lifetime to build up careers and assets and businesses and get a ton of education. It makes sense. The other thing that we know about income over time is that the vast majority of people who are in the bottom 20% of income earners, given a few years, exit the bottom 20% of income earners. In fact, about 3/4 of them enter the top 40% of income earners at one point in time or another. This tells us that social mobility or economic mobility is alive and well to some extent, right? Now, what does that look like on a graph? It looks like over time you make more and more money, right? Over time you make more and more money. This guy kind of hit the jackpot. He's like Drake or Taylor Swift or something, you know? And then we do know that, unfortunately, some people are born poor, live poor, and die poor. It's unfortunate, but it is a reality of life, right? Now, here's where the issue comes in when you look at income inequality statistics. They take everybody in the workforce and just treat them as one homogenous group, right? They treat everybody the same. And that's not how it works in reality, because what you end up doing is comparing these people down here to these people up here, right? So you're comparing poor young people to old rich people. This is a false comparison, a false equivalency, and this is comparing apples to oranges, right? This is not a fair comparison. Who should we be comparing? We should be comparing young people to other young people, middle-aged people to other middle-aged people, and older people to other older people. When you look at inequality in this way, you see that inequality is far less pronounced. Dr. Thomas Sowell, who's an economist down there at Stanford, once said that lifetime inequality is far less pronounced than is inequality at any given snapshot in time. I mean, you wouldn't expect a 20-year-old who's just entering the workforce to make the same salary as a 70-year-old who has 50 years work experience and an MBA. There's no reason to believe that they make the same salary. There's no reason to believe they have the same amount of assets or wealth built up over time, right? Now, am I saying that income inequality does not exist or that it doesn't affect society or politics? Not saying that at all. Am I saying that poor people don't exist or we shouldn't help them? Not saying that either. In fact, I'll show you exactly who we should be helping. These guys down here, right? The ones who are old and poor. These guys here who are middle-aged and poor. And then these guys down here, the ones who are young and they're so poor they barely even make it onto the graph. Also, if there's any children in any of these sectors, we definitely need to look out for the kids, right? Now, here's where another issue arises. Most people will say, well, this guy is rich, this guy's poor. Why don't we make the rich guy give the poor guy money and problem solved? Well, number one, that's stealing. So that's not a good thing, right? And number two, this is not a viable solution. It traditionally, historically has not worked, right? This is why the war on poverty failed. Right? When you just take money from one person to give it to another, we're not teaching anyone anything. What we really need to do is we need to go to where poor people are. We need to figure out why they're poor, right? Did you go bankrupt because of a medical bill? Did you bet all your money on the stock market and it crashed? Is it a knowledge issue? Do you not know how to build wealth? Is it a mental health issue? What's going on here, right? And once you're armed with that research and with that knowledge, then you can truly help poor people in a meaningful way, right? Now, I'm sure you've heard the term or the phrase, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. This is precisely what we need to do with poor people in this nation. We need to teach them how to fish. Obviously, in the interim period, we feed them, house them, clothe them, make sure that they survive. But we need to teach them how to fish, and that does a few things. Number one, it makes the poor person happier and more productive, right? Because they're not reliant on somebody else feeding them and feeding their families. Number two, it helps the nation at large. It makes us a happier and more productive nation at large. And number three, it saves the government and the taxpayers millions and millions and millions of dollars every single year. It's a much better solution. Guys, if you like looking at contemporary issues, if you like looking at controversial issues, if you find yourself playing the devil's advocate, if you find yourself challenging the status quo, if you find yourself being skeptical, check out GenerationWho.com. We have articles, we have videos, we have podcasts, bunch of stuff there for you. Never, ever fail to excite. We also have a full-length video, 20 to 30 minutes, where we go in-depth looking at income inequality. We figure out, is this really that big of an issue? How does it affect society? And what can we do to solve the issue? So do me a favor, get in the comment section below. Let me know if I'm off my rocker here. Let me know if you agree with me, or let me know if I changed your mind. With that being said, my name is Mike from GenerationWho.com, and I'll see you all soon.